Hello, welcome to the Accountable Organisation. My name is Grant Howard. In the next 7 or 8 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about designing and using high-performing health systems. I'm not sure that what I'm going to share with you is an innovation, because it's really just a collection of things that other people know that I've been taught. It's possible that because I learned what I know, it seems as if I always knew it, and I can't go back to not knowing. And so now each time I think about the health system I work in, and particularly when I'm frustrated with it, the things that I'm going to share with you seem like pretty obvious things to be doing. The value in the accountable organisation method or approach is that we brought together things that other people have already worked out for us, from Elliot Jacques and his requisite organisations to Eli Goldratt and his work on operational effectiveness. Many of these people were quite hard people to learn from because they used patented methods, and some of them were quite polarising people. But at the end of the day, they all had something important to share with us. And with the help of Bill Cricker, I've tried to create a big picture that fits them all into one comprehensive management practice for healthcare managers and executives. I've tried hard to avoid using a title like Management for Dummies because that's demeaning, but I think you'll get the general idea. So let's start at the beginning as things stand today. We know and we feel that we have a problem. We have both explicit and tacit knowledge that the health systems we work in aren't great. The emergency departments are full and overflowing. Our theatre suites are under constant pressure to start earlier, finish later, and generally be more productive. The wards are full, and often patients are still being left in corridors, even in 2014 in developed countries. And we've come to realise and understand that hospitals are still very dangerous places to be. What we have is not what we want. We think we know what we want. We want patient-centred systems. We want the patient seen by the right person at the right time in the right place, and hopefully they'll get the right care. So how are we going about doing this now? How are we trying to achieve what we want? Well, we're applying bits and pieces of management approaches to various parts of the system. We use lean thinking, we use Six Sigma, we use patient flow redesign. But because the system's never been engineered properly, important people sit outside of the day-to-day management system. I'm talking about clinicians. And so most of us have had to institute some kind of clinical engagement strategy. And again, because we feel there's a problem, we think it's leadership. And so we're trying to develop a large number of leaders in different ways and means. Again, typically trying to get clinicians involved as leaders. As it's become apparent that systems are dangerous, we feel we have had to make a special effort to address the glaring problems we have with patient and staff safety and quality issues. Now, these things all appear necessary and logical. In fact, if you didn't do these things, you probably wouldn't be seen as a legitimate health organisation trying to improve itself. But it brings us to where we are today, which is we're all working pretty hard. Some of us have worked so hard that we're pretty much burnt out. What we can do is point to lots of effort being made. Unfortunately, everything I've just said describes a problem called health system disease rather than health system reform. If you doubt the diagnosis, ask yourself what the most recognizable feature is of the organization you work in. If it is something like the Department of Surgery, based not on patient needs but traditional medical training, then you probably have the diagnosis confirmed. Ultimately, most of us have continued to work in the same way we always have. And all the improvement things we're doing are what we do over and above everything else. Unfortunately, that also means that we stop doing these things when the going gets tough. And I think you'll recognize this place because it's where most of us are now. We are working in health systems that are not patient-centered. They never have been, and they are not now. Health systems have never been engineered with the patient in mind. They reflect some other influence. Call it tradition, call it professional interests. It doesn't really matter, and we ought to do something about this. Unfortunately, because we're not doing the right things, the treatment for health system disease so far has been to pour more and more resource into the system. Now you can understand this because we have a passionate belief that we are resource constrained. Ask any doctor in the corridor of the organisation near you and they'll confirm the problem is that we don't have enough resource. Of course, everything in life is resource constrained, and healthcare has actually been relatively unconstrained. In investment terms, we've been growing at about 7 to 8% per annum for decades, at least as far as expenditure is concerned. So we know that throwing money at the problem just isn't going to work. Unfortunately, neither is the next thing we're going to try, which is building health research centres and centres for innovation. It's not that there's something intrinsically wrong with these things, they're good things, but we have nothing to build on or to improve on, and we won't have until we start doing the right things. Now in industry or in manufacturing, everyone understands that research and development is very expensive and very disruptive. So yes, innovation is a good thing, but not until we actually understand what we're trying to do and have engineered the system to do it. Doing the wrong things harder and more diligently makes health system disease worse, not better. And the outlook for the patient is not good, neither is it for the system. I hope you're still with me. Possibly not. Your consciousness is now trying to interject, trying to protect you, telling you that really it can't be all this bad, that lots of good's been done, and if you just keep doing what everyone else is doing, you'll get there in the end. At the very least, nobody could accuse you of not trying, and that's important. So who can I call on to help me? Well, let's try Don Berwick. You might have heard of him. Dr. Berwick said, "Every system is perfectly designed to deliver the result it is currently delivering." The problem is he hasn't told us how we should design our health systems so that they deliver what we want. There's been a profusion of health improvement institutions across the world rolling out programs that are trying to help us come to an understanding of what we should be doing and improve the system. What we actually need is the ability to engineer the system so that it works properly and then work with that. The problem is not so much what we want. What we want, we know. We want patient-centered care delivered in safe environments by happy workforces while delivering value for money. So much for what we want. The issue is how, and it has been the question for a long time now. How this is done is through management. There is no other discipline or tool, and this is where I need you to take a huge leap of faith with me. Management is poorly understood in health and poorly taught. I wish I had some other message to give or some other words to use, but I don't. It would be easy at this point to personalize what I've said, but I hope you don't. Lots of very smart and hard-working people work in health management. I spent 10 years going to every health symposium and conference known to man and all the workshops before and after them. I even did an MBA and came top of my class, but I still didn't know how to do what I wanted to do. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, and the accountable organization will help you. I can promise that at least half of what I will be trying to get you to do, you will not have done before, and you certainly won't have used the tools I can show you how to use. So what will the accountable organization do for you? It will help you design and build a patient-centered healthcare system that delivers the results you want. It'll do this by forming an organization that helps people to work in the way that they should. Humans constantly underestimate their cognitive limitations, even as they understand and try to overcome their physical limitations every day. So the organization that we build has to assist people to do the right thing every day. Importantly, whatever we build and use, it ought to be a good place to work. It ought to provide the time to think and improve the way we do things, and it ought to be effective. The management system that we use to achieve these things will also need to be simple enough to be able to be explained to everyone. Everyone working in the system will need to understand the value and importance of what they do to the outcome that we're trying to achieve. Each of the management tasks that we use need to relate to each other and be congruent. There is no point undertaking a budget round that is never ever going to be played out in daily operations. There is no point coming up with a staffing plan that does not support the activity that we want to deliver. All of these things need to be related. Importantly, the number of management tasks need to be kept to a minimum and should be applied to everyone from the coffee cart supervisor to your friendly head of surgery. There's plenty of detail elsewhere on the site on how you do this. But in brief, the accountable organization will show you how to understand what you're trying to do, and then it'll help you build an organization to actually do that. And finally, when you have an organization capable of doing something, operations management will help you do the work you need to do. The accountable organization is then, as you might have guessed, a management practice in 3 parts with the accent on how. Now, some of the tools are crude, and for this I apologize. But if you ever needed any more convincing that we're missing huge important parts of the discipline of management in healthcare, then the absence of easy-to-use management tools should reinforce the importance of what you don't yet know. Are you curious yet? Well, I hope you are. If you need any support or you want to challenge anything I've said or written, please contact me. My details are available on the website. Good luck. The things you're trying to do are too important for us to get wrong.